Temperature tells us how hot or cold something is. Use a thermometer to measure temperature. Temperature does not depend on the amount of materials, whereas the thermal energy does. The process of heating changes the motion of particles. In solid, the particles vibrate, but in the liquid and gas, the particles move faster, so this makes the temperature increases. Well, it depends on three things. Firstly, the mass of an object. The greater mass, there are more particles. Particles in different materials have different masses. The more the particles, the more the energy you need. Bigger temperature change you need to get the particles all moving or vibrating even faster. Generating electricity means producing a voltage so that a current can flow. For example, a magnet and a coil. Whenever the magnet moves towards the coil, it is a positive reading, and when the magnet is away from the magnet, there is a negative reading. But when the magnet stays in the coil, the reading is 0, including a bigger voltage. You can move the magnet or the coil faster, use a coil with an iron core, use more turns on the coil. Example, a dynamo. When the bicycle wheel turns, the magnet turns inside a coil of wires, and this will induce the voltage across the wire lights of the lamps. Large-scale generators are made using very large coils and powerful electromagnets.
What is conduction? Conduction is the way in which thermal energy is transferred through solids. Conduction happens when two objects at different temperatures are in contact with each other. Heat flows from the warmer to the cooler object until they are both at the same temperature. Example, a frying pan on a stove. The heat from the fire causes the molecules in the pan to vibrate faster, making it hotter. These vibrating molecules collide with the molecules beside them, making them to also vibrate faster. As these molecules collide, thermal energy is transferred to the rest of the pan. Convection is the transfer of thermal energy by the movement of a gas or liquid. Convection happens when particles with heat energy in a liquid or gas moves and takes the place of the particles with less heat energy. For example, when the bottom of a pan heats up, the liquid gets hot. Then the molecules start to move faster and it expands. It becomes less dense, and when it does, it will start to rise and is replaced by cooler liquid. The liquid in the pan will circle up and down. The circulation of water is called convection current. It can happen in liquids and gases that are free to move around.
What is radiation? Radiation is the emission or transmission of energy in the form of wave or particles through space or through a material medium. What is radiation made of? Radiation is energy given off by matter in the form of ray or high-speed particles. What are the 4 types of radiation? Alpha radiation, beta radiation, gamma radiation, and X radiation. What is evaporation? Evaporation is the process of a substance in a liquid state changing to a gaseous state due to an increase in temperature and/or pressure. Evaporation is a fundamental part of the water cycle and is constantly occurring throughout nature.
Fossil fuels that are produced by natural resources like anaerobic decomposition of buried dead organisms. There are 3 types of examples of fossil fuels, which are natural gas, coal, oil, and petroleum. Coal is made up of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and sulfur. The burning of coal and the mining process is harmful to the environment, releasing air pollutants such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and mercury. Next, oil. Oil is the primary source for the world's transportation. It is formed as diatoms. When they died, they fell to the seafloor. The crude oil is then refined to create the fuels such as heating oil, gasoline, petroleum gas, pesticides, fertilizers, plastics, and more. Lastly, petroleum. It is a liquid fuel made of hydrogen and other liquid organic compounds. Now let's move forward to geothermal energy. What is geothermal? Geothermal is an thermal energy stores of hot underground rocks from slow radioactive decay of radioactive elements boil water into steam, and then they turns turbine and generator generates electricity. The advantage of geothermal, it is free energy, reliable, and also it causes very little pollution. Disadvantages is it doesn't have many suitable location and setup costs are high. Geothermal is the cheapest form of the clean energy out there.
What is hydroelectricity? Hydroelectric energy is a form of renewable energy that uses the power of moving water to generate electricity. How does it work? Water is needed to run a hydroelectric power generating unit. The water is held behind a dam, forming an artificial lake or reservoir. The force of the water being released from the reservoir through the dam spins the blades of a giant turbine. Wave power is produced by the up and down motion of floating devices placed on the surface of the ocean. How does it work? Wind produces waves, and then waves produce energy. As the waves travel across the ocean, high-tech devices capture the natural movements of ocean currents and the flow of swells to generate power. What is tidal power? Tidal power or tidal energy is the form of hydropower that converts the energy obtained from tides into useful forms of power, mainly electricity. How does it work? The turbine and generator converts the movement of water coming from change in tide, the kinetic energy, into electricity. It describes an energy source that will run out eventually, such as fossil fuels. There are two types, primary and secondary. Primary sources can be found in the ground, such as coal, oil, or gas, or uranium. Environmental resources such as wind, water, and biomass. These are the primary sources. Secondary sources is produced using a primary source such as electricity and fuels.